Hello. So, we're here today to talk about psychopathic tendencies and the behavior that they have and whether they're inherently bad people or not. Give me your initial thoughts. Well, obviously, people who actually murder are inherently bad, I guess, by society's moral standards, but do you believe that those who have psychopathic tendencies are predisposed to committing crime or they're just simply misunderstood? Right, I agree. What I found actually in my research was that those with psychopathic tendencies actually have different brain chemistry. Right, so there's two different types of psychopaths, successful and unsuccessful, or type 1 and type 2. So, yeah, right. So a successful psychopath is someone who, like a businessman or a physician who has psychopathic tendencies, but fits in well in society and deals with it. Unsuccessful psychopaths, they don't. They're more likely to become the criminals, the killers, the burglars, that kind of thing. So the thing that's so fascinating to me about Ted Bundy is that he was a little bit of both. He was successful in that he hid his true identity for so long, and then, bam, he killed 30 women by these horrible, horrible methods, right? And got caught for it, which is a trait of an unsuccessful psychopath. Um, I also found that there's literal brain chemistry that's different. So there are some psychopaths that have enhanced neurobiological processes, such as better executive functioning, increased autonomic reactivity, normative volumes of prefrontal gray and amygdala areas of the brain, and normal frontal functioning. Those may serve as factors that protect successful psychopaths from conviction and allow them to attain their life goals. Well, what I guess I found out is that, hold on, let me talk about unsuccessful psychopaths real quick here. They actually have deficits, like reduced autonomic reactivity, impaired executive functioning, and risky decision making. So that kind of predisposes them to more extreme forms of antisocial behavior. So I guess the difference between a successful and an unsuccessful psychopath is just, I don't know if it's really just like the flip of a coin. You have better function or you don't. Um, but one commonality that they both have is antisocial personality disorder. So this isolates them from other people. It prevents them from recognizing empathy, especially there was like a statistical uh, experiment done a little bit ago that had criminal psychopaths, non-psychopathic criminals, non-psychopathic non-criminals, and non-criminal. Wait, did I already say that? So people who are convicted psychopaths, regular convicted people, non-convicted people, and non-convicted psychopaths. Got it? Yeah. And all of the ones who were psychopathic couldn't recognize fear when it was showed to them, like a picture, like a card.
Yeah.
They couldn't recognize fear. So that's a part of antisocial personality disorder. So what I'm getting at here is, so the difference is, I guess, because successful psychopaths have this enhanced executive functioning that's just kind of better than the non-successful ones, they're able to manage their APD better than unsuccessful psychopaths.
So, like within non-function normal person.
I guess. I mean, I wouldn't say that, yeah, quote unquote normal. So the thing that's confusing about this is just where it comes from.
How do you mean?
We don't know if it's heritable, if it's genetic, or if it's random. Kind of like how if you're homosexual, it's not necessarily genetic, but there's a certain genotype, I believe.
Yeah, because like you're not.
Yeah, just like you're not raised to be a psychopath. I mean, I guess you technically could raise someone to be a psychopath,
You
but
could, but the human mind is so react.
right,
Do them.
right. There were also, so the whole genotype thing. There were adolescents that were exhibiting early signs of psychopathic criminal behavior, and they had the same genotype. It was like a recurring thing. I'm not quite sure how they gathered this data, but it is structural and chemical, turns out.
Being a psychopath?
Yes, or having psychopathic tendencies. Not all psychopaths check off all of the lists. So, for instance, the most popular and famous ways to diagnose someone with psychopathy is Bob Hare's psychopathic checklist revised from. Yes. Well, it's from that. It's. I mean, obviously, it's not only from that book, but it's a popular way of diagnosis. And it's like this list of maybe 16 to 20 factors that include anti-personality disorders, stuff like that. And one thing that I also noticed was that some successful psychopaths don't check off all of the boxes. They just check off the big ones, but they don't check off all of them. A lot of the unsuccessful psychopaths check off a lot of the boxes. Like, they check off more of the boxes. Let me look at this real quick. Yeah, it's pretty wild. So I guess this kind of raises a question: is there a degree to psychopathy, or is it just straight up like you have it or you don't? Like, is it a spectrum? I believe that most mental illnesses are a spectrum.
I think psychopathy could be. Like it's just there's I think you're right in that there isn't they're not a psychopath. For psychopaths, like who's looking at the person who's being diagnosed as a psychopath. I think it's really all a matter of perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the whole thing with what is normal. Yeah, so the big question that I am trying to answer here is, are they inherently predisposed to criminal behavior? My answer would be no. Yeah.
I think that triggers them
Mm-hmm.
to commit a it's not like they're born to go like, yes, I'm gonna kill to want to survive. We all want to survive. Biologically, we don't out, so it's the our biology because we want to survive.
Right.
So something has to have a predisposed criminal behavior, if that's killing.
So, do you think that this trigger, so to speak, could be the stigma around this particular mental illness? Like, if a young adult was diagnosed as being psychopathic, um, and word got out, and they went to school, and everyone was freaking out, avoiding them, like just kind of ostracizing them from the rest of the school, do you think that could be a trigger for kind of amping up this behavior? Like a positive feedback loop, almost.
Being the person, for lack of a better word, a psychopath. If they're ostracized by their peers, yeah, that might set them off. It really depends on the type of person that they are. So if they are more sensitive to others hearing about them, yeah, that might set them off. But does that happen with a psychopath? Like, are they sensitive to other people's feelings about them, or do they just not care? Because I've heard from different studies and articles that I've read that psychopaths don't recognize emotion. That's a good question. I mean, I guess it would be kind of that'd be a universal thing. I mean, it's not like they're blind.
I'm pretty sure that they might be able to figure out if they're being bullied or something like that. You know, just because they can't recognize emotion doesn't mean that they don't feel it, I think. And feeling emotion is different from having empathy. And a major part of being a psychopath is not being able to be empathetic, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not sad sometimes or that they don't recognize that people don't like them. I really don't know. I'd have to look into some case studies about that, but that's an interesting perspective. Yeah. So my major kind of call to action here um, is to just kind of call out to the general public and say to do your research, yeah, do your research, educate yourselves. We should kind of lessen this stigma against those with antisocial personality disorders, because if that is a factor, it might prevent more violence from these individuals. And it might help them feel more accepted in society instead of, oh my god, you're evil, you're gonna kill me, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm definitely.
Yeah, just kind of a prevention of making it a self-fulfilling prophecy, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I say the same thing with my TED Talk, to be nice to others, because you don't know what they're going through, and you don't know what.
Yeah.
So
Okay, well,
kindness.
yeah, kindness is key. As there was this one story written or a poem or something that said everything I needed to know was learned in kindergarten, and one of those is be nice, share, treat others how you want to be treated. So just keep that in mind. Thank you for coming and sitting down with me and discussing this topic.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you to Frankie Briganti for coming and taking a seat. My name is Bella. We have the same last name. um, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and be nice. Today's episode, A View into Psychopathic Tendencies, is sponsored by Caper Mattress, bringing you the saltiest, tastiest sleep. Deliciously squishy, the smell of the vinegar will lull even the most extreme insomniacs to sleep. Get a limited time discount with the promo code PSYCHOCAPER1. PSYCHOCAPER1. This podcast episode was written, produced, and recorded by Bella Briganti. A special thanks to Matt Couch and Frankie Briganti. Background music was by Disparition. All Disparition music can be found at www.disparition.bandcamp.com.